And welcome to everybody on Cloud Fitness. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about Overwatch in Databricks. So in today's video, we are going to see what exactly is Overwatch, how do we use it, why do we use it, and we are also going to see the implementation of Overwatch. So let's move ahead and see what is exactly Overwatch. So when I talk about Overwatch, Overwatch is nothing but it is a Databricks lab project. Right now, what does this do? Overwatch essentially it collects the data from whatever sources it has, which captures the log. So it actually captures the log related information. Now how does it capture log related information? It captures log related information from the cluster logs. Right, cluster log is one way of capturing the log related information, and the other way of capturing the log related information is through audit logs. Now these audit logs are actually your workspace level logs which are sent to Azure Event Hubs, and then they are actually used by your Overwatch Labs project. So Overwatch Labs project, again I'll try to summarize, it collects the logs related information. Now how does it collect log related information? In two ways. Cluster logs and as well as your audit logs. Audit logs are nothing but these are workspace level logs which are sent to Azure Event Hubs. Right, so in the two ways it tries to capture the logs, aggregate that information. Now when it tries to aggregate this information, it tries to follow the Medallion architecture. When I say try to follow Medallion architecture, it uses that information, it tries to create your bronze, silver and the gold layer. I have already created a video on the Medallion architecture. In case you're not aware of that, you can go ahead and watch that out. So it uses that cluster logs, transforms it and aggregates the information using the Medallion architecture approach. Now what does it do? It takes the log related information and provides you with enriched data. So when I say it provides you with enriched data, it uses your logs data and it provides you enriched log information, which can help you in number of ways. It can help you in understanding your details of a job, right? Which job is running on which type of cluster, how many DBUs it is consuming, how long it is running, which job is taking more time, which job you can actually optimize from both performance and from cost related perspective. So that is the information that you can derive from Overwatch. Now when Overwatch collects these log information and put it into your gold, silver, bronze, silver and gold layers, it aggregates it in form of tables. Now these tables you can actually also use to build dashboards. Right, so when I say dashboards, you can actually build dashboards on top of this aggregated information. Now these dashboards can also give you a very good picture of you can actually monitor your whole workspace, right? What type of job is running, right, and how long it is taking, your each job, how long it is taking, how much cost is being incurred through your jobs, can you actually optimize it? So it gives a clear picture. Now Overwatch is not extra feature that you need to enable, or it is not something that costs you, right? The only cost that comes with Overwatch is that Overwatch is nothing but it is a job that runs. Right, now if you're running a job over your cluster, so whatever it takes to run a job on a cluster, the same kind of cost is incurred. So it is not a separate feature that you need to enable. It is just a labs project. It is a library that you kind of install on your cluster. You have a job, you run that job, what eventually it will do, capture all the logs, give you aggregated information, ready to use. Right, so this is nothing but the Overwatch. Also, I already told about that there are two types of logs which it captures. One is cluster logs and one is audit logs. Right, now these cluster logs are directly taken from the cluster. Now these cluster logs, you can actually put them in DBFS or you can put them in the storage account, both the places. Now DBFS is not recommended, of course, because the logs related data you don't want to capture it in DBFS. You should have a dedicated storage account for it. Right, so this is nothing but the cluster log capture. The other one is audit logs. So audit logs are nothing but these are delivered through Event Hub. So when I say delivered through Event Hub, you actually create an Event Hub right? I have already made two videos on Event Hub. You can watch that out if you're not aware on what is Event Hub. So you create an Event Hub, right? And then through the Databricks workspace, you enable diagnostic logs to the Event Hub. So what happens is all your logs, all the diagnostic log settings that you enable from your Databricks workspace goes to the Event Hub, and you connect your Event Hub to the Overwatch job that you write. Now what will happen when your Overwatch job will run? It will try to capture the data from two places. One is through the Event Hub, right? And the other is through the cluster logs. Right, so this is how your audit logs and cluster logs works. If you did not understand, that's completely okay, because we are going to see the implementation of this as well. So let's move ahead and see what are the steps involved in this. Now I will try to summarize these steps first so that you have a very clear picture of what we are trying to do here. Right, the very first thing is you have to create a storage account. Right, you have to create a storage account. Then the second thing is you have to create an Event Hub. Right, now to create an Event Hub, you first go ahead, you create an Event Hub namespace, and inside the namespace you have the Event Hub. Right, in case you are not aware about Event Hub, I do recommend watching my video on Event Hubs. Now similarly, when you create an Event Hub, now there has to be a username and password for Databricks to connect to Azure Event Hub. Now what is that username and password? That is nothing but your Event Hub connection string. Right, this is nothing but the password. So you need to capture it when you create Azure Event Hub, and you can store it in a key vault, and then you can later on use that in the Databricks. Right, now the fourth step that you need to do is you need to go to your Databricks instance, right, and then you need to enable diagnostic setting for the Event Hub so that your Databricks can actually talk to your Event Hub and send your logs to the Event Hub. Then the fifth thing is that whatever key vault, right, you have created, right, whatever Event Hub connection string, right, that you have parked in the key vault, right, that key vault and also that particular key vault, and as well as you have to store your Databricks PAT token. So when I say PAT token, personal access token, I will actually show you. If you have been watching my previous videos, you already know that. So you also generate a Databricks PAT token, and you also store it in the key vault, because that will also be needed. Right, now similarly you create a secret scope. Right, I have created a video on the secret scope as well in the Databricks. So you also create a secret scope in the Databricks where you store the information. Right, now after this is done, right, you actually use the Overwatch notebook. I will give you the link for the Overwatch notebook. It's available online. You can download it, put it in your Databricks instance, and then you can start replacing the parameters, because it will have some default parameters. Right, so you need to provide the parameters for your storage account. Right, whatever storage account you might be using, you need to provide parameters for your Event Hubs as well, right, the secret scope that you have created. So things like that. And then you need to create a cluster as well to run your job. Now when you create a cluster, you have to add the libraries to the cluster. Now what libraries? One is the Overwatch library, and the other one is Event Hub libraries. So these two libraries you actually need to install over your cluster, and then you need to enable cluster logs as well, because the two logs are being captured. One is cluster log and the other is Event Hub logs. Right, your Event Hub logs, we are already enabling it using the diagnostic setting, and the other one is your cluster log. So that also we need to enable, and then you can start running the Overwatch notebook, and this is something that we are going to do now. So these are the few steps that you need to follow in order to enable this Overwatch. And also I would like to show you this diagram which actually represent how this actually works. Right, so whatever I have explained to you right now, if you see on the left hand side, you have this Databricks workspace 1. So for the time being, just look at the left half of the picture. So let's say you have a Databricks workspace in and from this Databricks workspace, right, whenever you're running any job through the cluster, you enable the cluster logs. Right, now when you enable the cluster logs, those are nothing but those are compute logs. So those logs you can actually put in DBFS, or you can actually put it in the storage account as well. So let's say you put it in the storage account over here, and then it goes to the storage account. Now similarly, you create an Event Hub, right, and then you enable the diagnostic setting. Your data, the logs information from the Databricks workspace goes to Event Hub. So you have logs at two places, Event Hub and the storage account. Now you have an Overwatch job which runs. When it runs, it tries to pull the data logs related information from both the places, from the compute logs as well as from your event hub stream. Now it uses that particular log information, creates bronze, silver and gold data over here, and then essentially it gives you the tables which you can analyze, which you can get the information from. Now in case you have multiple workspaces, again you can do it within the same storage account. So you can enable your compute logs within the same storage account if it is in the same region. You can use that. So that is why there are two halves to the picture. So in case you have multiple workspaces, you can associate if it is possible to associate a storage account within the same region. So in that case you don't need to enable Overwatch in each workspace. So within one workspace itself, right, you can enable this, because you can send your compute logs to the one storage account itself, and then you can develop this Overwatch for the multiple workspace kind of configuration as well. So let's move ahead and see exactly what do we have. So when I talked about that, the very first thing is what we need to create is a storage account. So I've created a storage account over here. So let me show you. This is the storage account that has been created. So there is no special configuration which is used over here. It is a normal storage account. If you have been watching my previous videos, you already know that. And then the second thing is creating your event hub namespace. So if you see this NS3344, this is nothing but this is my event hub namespace. Now in this event hub namespace, I have created my event hub, which is nothing but the Overwatch. So this is the event hub. You can go ahead and click on this event hub and you can create this event hub which I have created, which is nothing but Overwatch event hub. Right? And then the other thing that is there is the shared access policy. Now this shared access policy, again I have explained it in detail in my event hub video. So if you go over here, you can actually go ahead and add a new key, or you can check the existing key. So this existing key is nothing but it has your primary key, secondary key, connection string, right? So now what is this? It is nothing but your password to connect to event hub. So what you can do is you can directly go ahead, copy your connection string primary key, and then we will actually use it as well. Now when you copy it, you can keep it at a place, and then the other thing that we need to do is we need to store that key in a key vault. So I have created this key vault over here, right, that we discussed. I have created this key vault. Again, I have a video on this key vault as well. You can go ahead and check that out. In the secrets option over here, right, if you go to this event, if you create a key vault, go to the secrets, you can generate import, you can create a new secret over here. Now you can actually see that I have Overwatch event hub secret. Now in this secret, I have actually created, I have actually placed my key which I just showed you. So this is nothing but this is where I have placed my secret. Now similarly, I have also generated the pad token, right? When I say the pad token, you can actually go ahead, you can go to this user settings, you can click on the generate new token. The moment you click on this, right, you get one pad token. Now that pad token, again I have placed it in the Overwatch over here. So if I click over here, so essentially my pad token is actually stored over here. So within the key vault, I have stored both the secrets. Now after doing that, right, what I have done, you can actually go ahead to your Databricks URL. Right here you can simply type, you can actually go ahead and what you can do is over here just remove this part of the URL, and then you can go ahead and type in secrets and hash secrets and / and then create scope, hit enter. So the moment you do that, again I have detailed video on this as well. So you can create a scope name over here and then your key vault which holds your secrets, right? So this is nothing but the key vault over here which I have created. Now if I go to the properties over here, I have this key vault URI, I have the resource ID. So these two things I can actually go ahead and place it over here, right? Resource ID and the DNS name and the scope name. So this is how I can actually go ahead and create the scope as well. Now once I have done this, what I can do is I can create a cluster, right, which is actually going to run my Databricks job, and let's say this is my cluster. Right now in this cluster, if you see, if I goes to the libraries option, right, it is, if you see, I have added these two Maven libraries, right? So this is nothing but Databricks Labs Overwatch 2.12, right? And then 0.7.1.3. So this is the latest version. You need to use this one. And similarly, you have your Azure Event Hub libraries as well. So these two libraries you need to install on your cluster. And then the other thing that you need to do is, if you see here what I have done, if you go to the logging option over here, now this is nothing but this is where I am sending my cluster logs, right? Where I am sending the logs of my cluster. So till now what I have done, I've shown you, that you have created your event hub and you have created your cluster, right? Now you need to send the logs from the cluster as well as from the event hubs. Now when you talk about cluster, you can go to the logging option over here, and then you can see here, this is the place you need to enable. You need to provide the destination where you want your logs to be there. So in this case, I have placed my logs in the cluster log dbfs location. You can mount a storage account and put it over there. Mounting is a better option, right? So here in the dbfs cluster log location, this is the location that I have provided as a destination. Now similarly, if I go back to my Databricks workspace, so this is my Databricks workspace. Now if you see, I want to send the logs from the Databricks workspace to the event hub. Now how do I do that? At the left hand side, there's a diagnostic setting option. I can go over there, and this is the diagnostic setting that has been enabled. Now you can click on add diagnostic setting, or I will show you what is the setting that is enabled over here. So now the moment you click on add a diagnostic setting, you can check whatever logs you want to send. So probably you can send all of these logs, right? Databricks cluster library, all the details, all the Databricks related logs. You can click on the all logs, and then there are destination details. So you want to stream it to the event hub, right? So because you have created the event hub. Now which subscription your event hub is in, what is the event hub namespace, what is the event hub name. So we have already created this namespace, right? This is the event hub. Now what is the policy? Policy is nothing but your key, right? Your what is the access key. This is also something that I've shown you just now, right? The policy key. Just select the policy key and done. So this enables the diagnostic settings on your Databricks workspace. Now this is going to do what? This is going to send the logs to your event hub. This is actually going to send logs to your event hubs. Now you have created both the sides. Now you have your event hub as well, your Databricks workspace sending logs to the event hub, as well as your Databricks cluster as well sending logs to a particular location in the DBFS. Right now I will give you a link to the notebook, right? So these are I will give you a link to the notebook where you can actually go ahead and download the notebook. I will leave this link in the description box. So if you're using Azure, you can directly go ahead, click on any of these. So this will actually give you, now if I go ahead and click on this, you will actually land up with this notebook, right? You just need to import the notebook, copy it within your workspace, and we can start using it. Similarly, if you want more detailed information on the event hub, this is again the link that is there. You can go ahead and read it out as well, right? So now I have already copied it. I have already copied the the Overwatch notebook. So this is how it looks like. You can go ahead and read out the configurations over here, whatever is written. It gives you detailed information on how this job is designed, right? Now if you see what I have done, right? So first thing is I have created a storage account, and I have kind of directly given the password for my storage account. Probably not the best option, but you can actually I have already created video on multiple ways to use storage accounts with the Databricks. Whatever feels nice to you, you can use that option. You can mount it, or since this is just a demo, I have directly given the username and the password, right? And then this is nothing but all the respective cells that you see, right? We are not going to go in detail over here, but I'm just going to tell you the settings that we need to change. If you want to go in detail of this notebook, just let me know. I will create a separate video on top of that. Now if you see storage prefix, right? Now these are the settings you actually need to change, right? These are the settings that you actually need to change, because these are the parameters. Now secret scope. So I have created a secret scope. I already told you just now that you can create a scope and there you can park your key vault information, right? So whatever scope name that you write, right, the same scope name you need to provide it over here. So where do you provide that? You can provide it over here, right? This is the thing that you need to change. And then the logs location, where you are sending the cluster related information. So I showed you over here that I'm sending my cluster information at this particular location. If you're sending it to the if you're sending it to the storage account, you can mount it and put the location over here. Now similarly, the other thing is the PAT key, right? You have taken the personal access token from the Databricks and you have placed it in the key vault, right? I have placed it with the name of Overwatch, right? So in the key vault, if you see, if I go back to my key vault, over here you will actually see that I have parked two secrets. Now what are those two secrets? One secret is my Overwatch and one is Overwatch Event Hub. Event Hub has the Event Hub connection string, Overwatch has the PAT token. So these two, Overwatch and Overwatch Event Hub, so these two, right? And then I have created a secret scope as well, right, where I have parked these two PAT keys using my secret scope in the Databricks, right? So this is the secret scope. Now my Event Hub name, so this is my Event Hub name, right? Whatever Event Hub that you might be using, you can park your Event Hub name as well, right? And this primordial date setting, this is nothing but the date from which you actually want to start the Overwatch, for the date from which you want to start your Overwatch log information settings, right? Scope you can keep all for now. So this is nothing but these are the changes that you need to do. So first you have to remove all the widgets. Now after you remove all the widgets, you can rename it, all the widgets over here, and then you can simply go ahead and start running your notebook, right? So the moment you start running your notebook, you will actually see that it starts running, right? And I already told you that it creates your Medallion Architecture, silver, bronze and the gold table. So these are the tables it starts creating, right? Also remember that there is one more thing over here. There is something called as consumer DB and ETL DB, right? So if you see here in the widgets, you have two more information, right? Consumer DB and the ETL DB. Now ETL DB is nothing but I told you it creates Medallion architecture and it gives you set of tables which you can actually utilize for your dashboard. So whatever table that you can actually utilize for your dashboard, the aggregated level information that is present in the consumer DB, you can give the name of the DB that you want. So here Overwatch was the default name, I have kept it as it is, and then there is an ETL DB name, Overwatch ETL, where it again captures the all the tables that it generates. So these are the two databases where it generates these tables. So now you can actually see that the job is running. What this job essentially does is it tries to create a string, right? And now using that configuration string, it tries to create the silver, bronze and the the bronze, silver and the gold table. So these are the modules that it is trying to running in the back end. Now this is something that is happening. Now I will actually show you that it takes a time, right? You leave it, you run it every day, then over a period of 1 month you will see that which job is performing better. So what I can do is I can directly go to the data tab over here and I will actually show you where it is trying to generate the tables, right? So if I click on this schema, so you can actually see that Overwatch and Overwatch ETL. So these are the two schema that I wanted to show you, right? I told you just now that it has two databases over here where it tries to capture the information, where it tries to give you the tables which you can use for the ETL and the dashboarding purpose, right? This is the consumer DB name and the ETL DB name. You can change it, Overwatch and Overwatch ETL and Overwatch. Now if I go here, so Overwatch ETL, so you can actually see that it has your the details of the tables, your bronze table, and since I have not run it much, right, so you will see less number of tables. So as I run a lot of jobs and then as I daily run this Overwatch, there will be many tables over here which comes up and it will give you a lot of information. Now since this is just a 2 days old job and I have not created too many jobs in my instance and I'm not running it daily either, right? So that is why I do not have a list of tables, but ideally it will have list of tables where you will have a lot of details. So for example, let's say DBU cost related information, right? So all these kind of information it will store, your organization ID, your SKU, what type of cluster you are trying to use, all these details, your Overwatch run ID. So you can actually go ahead and check out what kind of information it is trying to capture. And then you have an Overwatch database as well. Now in this Overwatch database, again you will have a lot of information. Now I told you I do not have it since it is just a 2 days old and I'm not using it. There is no production instance that I'm trying to show you over here, right? So in this Overwatch you will have more details, right? These are the aggregated information which you can actually use for your dashboards as well. So now you can see it actually tells you a lot of details, but these are mostly these are not coming from a job because I have not run any job. Now once you run a job on a daily basis over here and it will try to capture it, so you have, let's say, list of 10 jobs which are running, and then you run Overwatch once in a day. Now what it will try to do, it will try to capture the logs from all those 10 jobs, create the tables over here, right? So what it will do, it will give you, let's say, notebook path, right? How many DBUs it's consuming, what are the cluster details, right? And the things like that which you can use, and there will be multiple tables, not just these 2 tables. So this is nothing but this is your Overwatch and my job is running anyway over here. So it tries to create this string, right? It tries to create this configuration string, and this configuration string, it tries to put in this bronze function, and it tries to just run it. So these are the tables, internally, these are the modules it tries to call internally from the code, from the library that you have put in the cluster over here. So this is essentially the functioning of Overwatch. Actually, I've tried to capture more detail within the one video itself. Do let me know if you need any more information, from this particular Overwatch. If you need any more information, do try and practice it out on your own. It is actually very helpful. And do let me know in the comment section if you want me to capture any other aspect of Overwatch as well. So thank you so much for being till here. Do remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel.